This is Chuck Huber, the voice of Android 17. You're listening to Anime Seekers. You better be, or I'm coming for you. Dragon of the Darkness, Flame!
Toku Secrets is a podcast run by the Anime Secrets website. Check us out at animesecrets.org for more anime, video game, tokusatsu content. Remember to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts today.
Oh, yes! This is Goldar, and you're listening to Toku Secrets Podcast. Don't tune us out, tune us in!
Welcome to Toku Secrets. Join us as we journey into the marvelous world of Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, Power Rangers, and many other tokusatsu. Get ready for the adventure of a lifetime. It's Morphin time! Link to the Morphin Quest. I'm Nathan Desai, the dazzling adventurer, Boken Silver.
And I'm Rizwan Merchant, Gokai Red.
And we're Toku Secrets. What is going on, everyone? This is the Toku Secrets Podcast presented by animesecrets.org. And today, Riz and I are together by ourselves as a little follow-up to our previous podcast where we took a look at the 2017 Power Rangers movie. Well, that was actually a setup for this podcast where we are once again taking a look. We're going to be shining a little bit of a light on some lesser-known fan work, although this time it's not an audio drama or video series. It is actually a comic. And in this case, we are taking a look at the comic Rise of the Dragon. It is written by Patrick Sky, along with Edgar Stiles and Robin Jones. Patrick Sky, to my knowledge, is a very famous cosplayer in the Toku community.
Yeah, he's a really well known cosplayer in the community. He was, from what I understand, based on Ranger Stop and Pop 2 years ago is when I first heard about him. He was one of the people at the memorial that spoke about JDF at the JDF memorial. So I kind of followed him after that on Instagram, and at some point in the last couple of months leading up to Ranger Stop this year, I saw that he had started his own comic a couple of months prior, I think, called Rise of the Dragon, which is a direct sequel, like you said, to the 2017 movie that we reviewed last time. And so I figured, okay, what the heck? Worst case is I'm out of $5 and the comic is not great, but honestly, I liked the comic and what it had so far. So I convinced Nathan to go on another comic book adventure with me. So here we are.
Yep.
And this is totally in no way, shape, or form another way for Rizwan to avoid talking about Lost Galaxy for one more week. Totally not
There
the
it
intent
is.
here. And just to get it out there, because I know we got some people who are asking, no, I don't hate Lost Galaxy. No, it's not as bad as Overdrive. No, it's not that bad. It's just with family stuff that I've been going through, and then just trying to make sense of some of these really interesting plot holes. It's a lot to digest to rewatch it, and so I don't. And so,
I think it's more about like when you watch it after you watch Ginga Man, you're horribly disappointed because we can both agree that like Ginga Man is like a top 10, maybe top 5 Sentai.
exactly.
Lost Galaxy just isn't that.
Yeah. So, no, it's not an attempt to get out of it again. I know we got some people that are waiting for us to finish out Lost Galaxy, that we can move on to something like, oh, Anja. But I promise, it's coming. We're getting there. We're almost done. It'll be done this week, I hope. Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see. I promise,
Anyway.
but I don't promise.
Right. Anyway, with that being said, just to give some clarity, so the story for this comic is strictly by Patrick Sky. Edgar Stiles is responsible for the illustrations as well as the cover art, and Robin Jones does the letters for like the dialogue bubbles and all that. Just wanted to clarify that. But as you could probably guess from that little intro that we just did, Rise of the Dragon. Well, first of all, it's done as a tribute to the late Jason David Frank. They have a little bit of a in dedication thing for him at the beginning of the comic. But yeah, this is meant to be like a follow up to the 2017 movie. Since unfortunately, as we went into very much details on in our previous podcast, there was no sequels to the film. But yeah, this is obviously going to be like, bringing in, Tommy into within the universe of the 2017 movie. So we're we'll just go over the story a little bit because there's only one issue, but apparently the second issue was supposed to come out again sometime this month, in
Yeah,
August. So
yeah, I read somewhere that it comes out in August, but I haven't seen anything new since then. But that's my understanding. It'll be out in a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks. I don't quite know, but I figured it's a good time to try and get into it. That way, we're kind of fresh for when issue
yeah,
two does come out.
and we again, how many issues are supposed to be in this series?
According to their Etsy page, it looks like 6, and I will try and link the Etsy page for anyone that's interested in checking it out. They do have digital copies for sale on there. If you look for Patrick Sky on Etsy, it'll pop up for $5 to get issue number 1. And I honestly do recommend you guys check it out if you're a fan of the 2017 movie. And if you're not a fan of the 2017 movie, I have questions for you. But
Yeah.
that's a whole other thing that we'll get into later.
All right. With that said, let's jump in. So the comic opens up. We've kind of established. We see a news report of of like the news talking about the Rangers' fight with Goldar in the Megazord. And pretty much talking about how our city was attacked, and then these great Power Rangers saved us, and and we're so grateful. Like the Power Rangers are basically like heroes now, and everybody loves them. And then we transition to our character Tommy. Tommy's artwork is framed after Patrick Sky himself, which is pretty cool. That's awesome. And we also see a picture on his phone of we see a picture of two people of we see him with a character who looks like Amy Jo Johnson, and then we figure out that his dad is in the likeness of Jason David Frank, which is kind of a reference. This is something that maybe we talked about that. Maybe I said this in our previous podcast, but if we didn't, both Jason David Frank and Amy Jo Johnson, sorry, have a cameo at the end of the 2017 movie where they're seen among the crowd of people cheering on the Power Rangers as they stand victorious in the Megazord. So they're kind of canonizing those two characters, and they weren't given any names. I don't even think they had lines in the movie.
They had
But,
0 lines.
Yeah. But yeah, they're a married couple, and apparently they have a son named Tommy. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tommy is a bit of a troubled guy. He's skipping out on classes a lot, and he's getting detentions a lot. And he's been having a lot of family issues. And we find out again that apparently he lost his brother he lost his brother. I don't think they established. I think they're implying that he's dead, but like either way, he's been going through some tough times in the family. So he's kind of a troubled teenager, just kind of going around, getting detention and not able to stay out of trouble. And he has a complicated relationship with his dad because he and his dad don't really talk all that much either. And one day when he's like going out, he gets into a fight with these like three bullies. At first, I thought that these characters were supposed to be like Bulk and Skull, but then I realized there's three of them, so I guess they're just a bunch of random bullies, like the same person who was giving Billy trouble in the 2017 movie. Not the same character, but the same likeness, just some.
Yeah. Just some random bullies, I think is the better way to put it.
Yeah. And Tommy easily takes them out. And then when he's out, he comes across this object that he trips over an object that turns out to be I think it's like a shard of Rita's staff or something.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, okay. It's a shard of Rita's staff, and Rita's talking to him, just kind of, appealing to like the pain, his inner pain and all that. And, just deciding, hey, I'm going to finish what I started. I want to, continue my conquest to like, find the Zeo crystal and do all these terrible things, and you're going to help me. And her spirit emerges and she possesses Tommy, allowing him to transform into her Green Ranger suit, the same Green Ranger suit we saw her possess in the movie. And then the next day, well, first we see Tommy through her control beat up a homeless man, and then it fast forwards to the very next day where Tommy's walking down the street, and then one day, and then he transforms, he morphs and jumps in and is basically saying, all right, Rita is basically saying, it's time to finish what I started. All right, Tommy, it's time for you to like, use this power and destroy the Power Rangers. And she uses Tommy's phone to make like a big live broadcast and, kind of trying to bait the Power Rangers into coming after her. And the Power Rangers are at Krispy Kreme because yeah, this whole universe just has some obsession with Krispy Kreme for some reason.
I mean, it is the place that the Zeo crystal resides under, so it makes sense that they would want to stick around there as like a kind of, guardian of the Zeo crystal.
Yeah.
Plus, from what I remember of Krispy Kreme before I stopped being able to eat donuts thanks to my, gluten allergy.
Yeah.
They were pretty tasty. I'm not gonna lie. Okay,
Yeah.
If you gotta pick a brand, that's not a brand I would be against.
Yeah, Krispy Kreme's pretty good. I mean, I'm trying to watch what I eat these days, but they're still pretty good donuts.
Yeah, I haven't had a donut in so long.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
back to this. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the Rangers, they see Tommy / Rita's little live broadcast, and they're suspecting it may be Rita, but they don't know who it is. But then they're like, well, whoever it is, we have to protect Angel Grove. So they get their power coins together and they're ready to go after it. We get a brief cameo from Bill Hader's Alpha and Bryan Cranston's Zordon, where they're kind of where Alpha's a little concerned that the Rangers may not be ready, but Zordon is saying have faith. And the episode ends as Tommy is standing on top of the building waiting for the Power Rangers to come after him, at which point we end with to be continued.
Yep. So I think where I'd want to start with this discussion, Nate, is what are your first knee-jerk reactions to when you see Zordon tell Alpha have faith, given the movie?
I think it definitely. I'm not sure, like, because I don't think we talked about how we felt about Zordon in the movie when we did our podcast, but Zordon was a lot different from the one in the show. Like in the show, Zordon's just this. I mean, let's be honest, kind of boring, all-knowing type of guy who rarely, if ever, shows emotions, and he's just there to be like a very helpful mentor.
Yeah.
While in the movie, he's a very like stern, and he doesn't always have faith in the Rangers. In fact, they kind of established that like he was just trying to use the Rangers as a way for him to like escape the morphing grid himself.
Exactly. So it's just interesting to me that, Zordon in this comic is so in faith in the Ranger team. And it makes me wonder, has Zordon softened up on the team because he saw them do something good at the end, where because they were able to morph and unite and use the Zords? And if I remember correctly from the movie when I rewatched it last week, I think I remember a line from Zordon or Alpha saying, indicating that they had never seen the Zords combine to become a Megazord.
I think so, yeah.
So if that's the case, I mean, they've done a lot of things that, would be impressive and would give faith to the team that, hey, they are worthy of doing the thing that they're sent here to do. But at the same time, it does feel kind of odd going from the end of the movie where you don't really see Zordon truly acknowledge them as much, in my opinion, to saying have faith in them. So it is interesting that we have this off-screen thing that could have happened in the middle where Zordon might have said, hey, you guys did good. I'm proud of y'all. You truly are the Rangers that we deserve.
Yeah. Maybe that's just the implication.
Yeah.
But and maybe they'll go into more detail in like the future issues because I get it. I mean, I get why this predominantly focuses on Tommy because
Oh, yeah.
You need to establish Tommy more as a character because for better or worse, well, okay, we got a really good idea of who Jason, Billy, and Kimberly are in this universe. Not so much with Zach and Tweety, but I mean, we got a better idea of who they are than Tommy are, so it makes sense to focus on Tommy much more.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But yeah, I mean, well, okay, I'll be honest. The Zordon part didn't really stand out to me as much because I actually read this thing before I watched the movie. Then I watched the movie for our podcast, and then I just skimmed over this comic a little bit more ahead of the podcast for this one. And yeah, it's kind of interesting that Zordon is like that. I don't know, like
It just kind of popped out to me as one of the things I want to talk about. And I figured do it now while we're still kind of talking transitionary stuff from, the movie to the comic in terms of storyline and all that.
yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, as far as the big thing that really stood out to me because when I originally read this, I hadn't watched the movie since when I saw it in theaters in 2017. But the big thing that I really liked was that I like how they kind of play off that cameo that Jason David Frank and Amy Jo Johnson had in the movie by having them be like the parents of Tommy Oliver. I don't know if that would have been the thing. I mean, maybe for all we know, it would have been something that Saban decided to do in the sequels, but if they didn't, I mean, that's a really cool idea to just kind of play off that cameo a little bit.
I don't know if that was ever planned. I don't think it ever was. I think it was just like a cool, hey, let's get Amy Jo and Jason David Frank together for a cameo because why not?
Yeah.
I think they use the fact that there's a pretty clear cameo of them to build this comic, which I think is pretty brilliant, honestly. Because something I like about a comic that many people may not notice when they're reading this, they're not really a part of the community as much, is that this iteration of Tommy, like I mentioned to you off cast, Nate, he's meant to look more like Patrick Sky does when he's not wearing cosplay.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty cool. And then the dad, that's Tommy, that's JDF. So I think it's pretty cool that we're able to give this homage in a way to them because I don't know what you remember from a year and a half or 2 years ago, Nate, but when we were at the JDF Memorial at Ranger Stop 2023, Patrick Sky did come up and talk about his close connection with Jason David Frank and their friendship. And to me, it's just so cool to see his different friends being able to pay homage to him in different mediums. Like you have Patrick with the comic, you got Aaron with Bat the Sun doing Legend of White Dragon. So it's just really cool to see the different ways that we're celebrating the life of one of our childhood heroes,
Yeah, for
so
sure.
That was the biggest takeaway I took from this is, hey, he's doing this. I don't know for certain what his motivation was for doing the comic. I happen to think that it has something to do with his connection with Jason David Frank. And not to spoil too much from the memorial video, if you want to go watch it on our YouTube, you can. But if I remember correctly, Jason David Frank and it might have been Nakia. They both went together to Patrick's wedding, if I'm not mistaken. Was it Nakia or Karen? One of them. I don't know. But I do remember that being said at the memorial. So that just shows the closeness that he had with this person, and it's a nice way to kind of honor a fallen friend.
Yep.
And on top of that, it's also a pretty cool retelling of Greenwood Evil to me.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's kind of a much different, like, it honestly feels a lot better just because, they established that Tommy is a troubled person, and it's kind of cooler that Rita isn't just putting a spell on him like how she does in, both the show or the audio drama for that matter. It's more the fact that, like, her dead spirit is, like, possessing Tommy, so it's like you're fighting Tommy, but he's just kind of a host for Rita. I mean, obviously, it's kind of a cliche plot, but it's a cool way to kind of, bring more to, given how the original movie ended, it's a cool way to, like, bring up how she used to be the Green Ranger, and now here she is using the Green Ranger powers to possess Tommy. Not put a spell on him, but possess him. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, there's a lot of grief here with this Tommy, and I have questions on some of it, but very clearly he lost his brother recently, quite possibly in the Megazord battle, is my interpretation, but it could have also happened prior to the Megazord battle, which would actually play a little bit better, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because I think this is set too soon after for, like, for us to not have more abruptness to the death of the brother. This seems like he's been kind of dealing with for a little while.
Yeah.
But in any case, this feeds into Jason David Frank's own story with his brother who passed away. I think either at the end of the 90s or early 2000s. And
this is the guy who played David in Zeo, right?
Exactly. That's his real life brother.
Yeah.
And he died from something. And I know JDF was really torn apart by that for many years to come. And it really kind of defined a lot of his life after that one death.
Mm-hmm.
Rightly so. I mean, if you lose your brother, I mean, I'm sure you feel the same way. So, no, I think it's really cool that we're able to pull these different story threads together. Because, you and I have seen two different interpretations now of a Tommy and David story. We saw it in Zeo a little bit. We saw it in the Carl Dutton audio drama, and now we're seeing the aftermath of that relationship here in the comic.
Yeah.
And it's something that we don't really. I mean, okay, when we had it in Zeo, I'm pretty sure I said this in the audio drama podcast as well. But when we had that in Zeo, it just didn't seem as impactful to me.
Yeah, like it was. I remember it being. Honestly, if I remember correctly, I think it was only like one episode. Like, I don't think it was a. I mean, maybe it was a 4-part, but it didn't have nearly the type of impact that you would wish that it had.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it all takes place before the Gold Ranger comes in, and then the Gold Ranger shows up, and hey, I mean, it would have been cool if maybe David turned out to be the Gold Ranger instead of Trey, but nope. And at that point, David is just a completely forgotten afterthought with Tommy.
Yeah, and I mean, I like that the different mediums have been drawn to that story more, because I think this inclusion of David and making him more relevant to the story is one way that we can honor Jason David Frank and what he wanted to have more,
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that he wanted, but one of them I think was his brother to be remembered. And this is a really cool way to kind of remember him, because even if you didn't really care about that story in Zeo, well, you got the audio drama story and you got this thing, and it's calling more attention to it, and I think that's a really cool thing, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm I guess what I'm just kind of looking forward to is I really hope, I mean, especially with this being six issues, I'm just hoping that, it can. I mean, first of all, I really want to see what the Dragon Zord looks like in this version. Hopefully, it'll redeem that hideous-looking Megazord in the movie.
I have a feeling it'll be a lot better than what we got for the Megazord.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just hoping that this can be, as gripping as like early Green with Evil, because I do want to see Tommy successfully infiltrate the command center and just cause a lot of damage for that, because that's actually one of my favorite parts of the original Mighty Morphin. Just the idea of like Tommy being able to infiltrate the command center and effortlessly rip the whole place apart. I love that part, and I'm just hoping to see there be more of an emotional struggle, and I'm curious to see how Tommy is going to break free from Rita, because the thing is that I don't see an easy way out of this whole ordeal, because Rita owned that power coin, so how it's not going to be easy to just remove her spirit from that coin. Like it's not like, because in both the audio drama and in the main series, Rita gives Tommy the power coin, but there's nothing like inherently evil about the power coin. She just gives him powers and then brainwashes him in a completely different way to use those powers for evil. But once he breaks free of the spell, then he's able to use those powers however he pleases. I don't feel like it's going to be as that simple here, because these are powers that Rita used and Rita possesses. So definitely intrigued to see how they're going to work around that with freeing Tommy from the spell.
I think also one thing I would kind of say here is, I know this is like a retelling in a way of Green with Evil, but also, in my personal opinion, I don't think we're going to have like a very close retelling. I think we're going to have the general structure of it.
Yeah.
But I doubt we're going to get like, scene for scene or idea for idea. Like, I'm kind of expecting this to go off in its own way. Because right off the bat, I mean, we talked about it so much in our podcast last week that the 2017 movie is hitting on these really hard-hitting issues that we don't get in the main series that much. Like Billy's autism, Trini's questioning her sexuality, Jason, Kimberly trying to deal with, just high school teenager crap, learning the good choices, and then Zach dealing with his mom and all that. Like, these are heavy issues. And now we're adding on another one with Tommy grieving his brother who died from something. And that will weigh heavily on him for quite a while, because you didn't have that in the audio drama. You didn't have that in the Zeo. In the audio drama, David's still alive, even right now. Sorry if it's a spoiler, but whatever. So Tommy hasn't had to deal with that yet. And I don't think in canon David Trueheart died in Zeo. So
Yeah.
This is the first time we're going to see a story with Tommy kind of dealing with that grief. And given the grief existed in Jason and Frank's real life, and given how close Patrick was to him, and he knows stuff that we don't know about that relationship and that pain, who's to say we don't get some of the real JDF pain kind of being channeled here through Patrick? And I think that says a lot about, the quality of what we can expect here. That's kind of what I was thinking when I was reading the comic last week in preparation for this. Was this is going to be a much darker iteration. And I'm hoping that this does well and it's well received by the fandom, because so far I'm intrigued. I really want to see more. And honestly, if it does continue to do well, I see potential for this thing to really, go beyond a 6-issue deal, and maybe they could find a way to continue telling more stories. Maybe, I don't know.
Oh, I would love to see that.
Like, I always wanted to see what Israelite would have done with the Zeo powers, and how he would have dealt with Lord Zed and the other stuff. Like, I think it'd been very interesting to see all that play out.
Yep.
So this is a really cool way to see something that I really want to see more of, because I really like the movie a lot. I mean, I gave it the highest of the three of us last week, lore wise, and I think it's just, we have a lot of things that we can do in this universe that we couldn't do in the main universe.
Yep.
Because the tones are very different, and that means we can get something more mature, more nitty gritty. And honestly, I would love to see that.
And speaking of the main universe, to kind of piggyback off of that, another reason why this intrigues me is because, honestly, the more I think about it, the way that Tommy is becoming a ranger here in this universe, ironically enough, obviously the roots are kind of there with like how Tommy became a ranger in the main universe, but it kind of feels a bit more reminiscent, and I don't know if this is intentional or not, although it probably isn't, but it feels a bit more reminiscent of how Trent became a ranger in Dino Thunder, because in Dino Thunder's case, Trent's struggle is that he came across ranger powers that are actually pure evil. Like the ranger powers, like the White Ranger is this like personality, like this person who needs a host. Trent is the host. But when Trent morphs, he's not Trent. It's an evil White Ranger who's just doing evil things and whatnot. So he becomes a completely different person. Hence why Trent's voice changes every time he morphs, until eventually he reaches a point where the Dino Gem completely takes over. So even when Trent is unmorphed, it's still the White Ranger guy talking, which I really like that dynamic, and now that I have that idea in my head, it really intrigues me more to see how they're going to resolve this plot, because as much as I love Dino Thunder and as much as I love Trent, I have to admit the way that Trent becomes good is incredibly anticlimactic, because like in Dino Thunder it just amounts to Zeltrax tries to frame Trent for doing something stupid, and then Mesogod tries to kill Trent, but then just as Trent is about to die, Anton Mercer, he reverts back to Anton Mercer stops the thing that's supposed to kill Trent, and then the laser hits the Dino Gem, and then bam, it just kills the White Ranger personality, and now Trent is in control of the powers. Like, really? Like, that's how you end it? So, I really hope that, and I have faith, given how this is being done by like a fan who has a lot more passion, and also is not limited by a production studio that's going to limit what he can do. He has the ability to go out, especially go all out, since it's a comic. Very intrigued to see how they're going to wrap up this whole thing.
No, definitely, I think you're right.
But do you agree with like the Trent similarities?
I definitely see it, and I definitely think you're onto something here with that. But I think this has a chance to be better in that storyline.
Oh, 100%. Definitely.
Yeah. Now, one thing that I do want to go back to real quick, because I'll be honest with you, when you mentioned Amy Jo Johnson again at the start of the podcast, I kind of did a double take, because I was like, wait, hang on. Was Amy Jo Johnson in this comic? So I scrolled through real quick. I'm not seeing her in here. But when you look at the, there's a panel where there's a photo of, Tommy's father, which is JDF, and two sons. You don't see a mother, which makes me wonder, were they married? Did they get divorced? Is he dead as well? I'm just kind of curious.
This other panel where he's looking at his phone and it says new voicemail. and there's somebody standing next to Patrick Sky Tommy, and it looked a little bit like it was supposed to be an A.J. Johnson likeness to me, although I could be wrong.
Oh, that's the brother, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then I made that mistake, but...
Yeah, I was going back through, I was like, hold up. I mean, it's still very possibly that Kimberly or, Amy Jo Johnson is involved in this somehow, given we're pulling the cameo of JDF into this. And in other universes, Kimberly and Tommy did get together. Sorry, Kat, but did it happen here? I don't know. It'd be interesting if they are divorced, though. That'd be really interesting.
Yeah, but I find that
there is no
just because the way that the JDF and AJJ characters were interacting in the 2017 movie, I don't know, they did come off like they were a legitimate couple, and the way they were interacting with how just the way they were interacting, I just find it hard to believe, especially if this comic does pick up very shortly after the movie came out. I mean, I find it really hard to believe that they would get divorced given the way that they were acting next to each other.
Yeah.
But we'll just have to wait and see.
I mean, I don't want to dwell on it too much, but it could even be that their actual mother died a long time ago.
Yeah.
And Amy Jo Johnson is the girlfriend, fiance, whatever you want to be, second mommy.
Yeah, stepmother.
Yeah. So, and this earlier photo that seeming out of in the picture, then quite literally.
Yeah.
But no, I think that's a really cool point you brought up that, she could be involved in the future because the cameo does exist for her. It's just a matter of do they tap into that as well? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But those are all my big notes that I have for this one, Nate. I don't know if you have anything else you want to bring up.
Yeah, I had nothing. I think this is a very interesting concept, and I'm definitely intrigued to see more about what Patrick has in store for us, because this is already pretty intriguing.
Yeah, and Patrick, if you're ever listening to this somehow, I would love to know where I can get myself one of those green dragon jackets.
Yeah, that looks awesome.
I would wear that to cons and stuff. Quite honestly.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think this is a really cool comic. I'm really proud of Patrick putting this together and the concept. It's especially as a fan made thing. There's no support from Boom Studios or Hasbro or Saban or anything. Literally, this is a fan project, and just like all the other fan projects we've supported so far, I think they're knocking out the park so far, and I'm pretty happy with it. So kudos to the team. I think y'all are doing great.
Yeah. And I think that too.
Yeah. So I think that's the end of this podcast, and I guess next time we talk, I'll be Lost in the Galaxy.
Yes, that is true. Just a little bit of a announcement on some of the things we're going to be covering. After we do Lost Galaxy, we'll be trying to catch up with Boom Boomer. We definitely have a lot to catch up with Boom Boomer because they did there was a team up episode with I don't think all the Go-Oners, but at least Go-On Red.
Okay, yeah. Sasuke.
Yeah. So with Sasuke, plus we have Purple Ranger, the Sixth Ranger coming in. So we definitely got a lot to cover, but we're going to get caught up because if you kept up with our podcast, you would know that we were enjoying Boom Boomer. So we'll be doing that, and then we'll be moving on to reviewing Go-Onger along with Power Rangers RPM. And from there, we don't know, but we'll definitely have a better idea of what Sentai will take a look at after Go-Onger with time. We got plenty of time to get that whole figured out. But
Nathan says he doesn't know, but Rizwan's already decided.
Which one is that?
You'll find out later on. Don't worry.
Okay, cool. But with that said, we will see you guys next time when we take a look at Lost Galaxy. Please let us know what you think about this. And again, this is one of our podcasts where we're reviewing fan-made content. So we can't stress enough that you should absolutely check this stuff out and, show the support for it, because sometimes fan-made content can actually be better than the actual professional-made content that we're being given. So definitely show this a lot of love, because who knows? I mean, maybe this could be the continuation of the 2017 movie that I think a lot of us really wanted. So definitely show this thing all the support you can get. But with that said, we will see you guys next time when we venture deep into space into the lost galaxy. But until then, bye for now. If you enjoyed listening to the Toku Secrets podcast, please check us out at animesecrets.org and follow us on all our social media pages such as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And also feel free to check out our other podcasts, including Anime Declassified and the Jedi Squadron. You can also leave us any feedback you'd like to offer us directly on our website. If you're listening to this on Spotify or iTunes, we thank you so much, and please leave us a rating out of 5 stars. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel if you're not already subscribed, and leave any comments down below, as we love to take the time to read comments left on our channel and give our fans, shout-outs. If you have any seasons of Super Sentai, Power Rangers, or other tokusatsu shows that you'd like for us to check out, please don't hesitate to say so in your feedback. With all that said, we thank you so much for taking the time to listen to our podcast, and we will see you next time as we continue our never-ending journey through the world of tokusatsu. But until that time, you all stay safe, we love you, and may the power protect you.